Who? What? Where was I? Oh, Tiny was a good fellow. He hated everyone and everything, but a good heart nonetheless. Please be more reasonable with my minions next time.
Greetings and salutations, and this is Tech Plays here, back with more Crash Bandicoot Warped. And at the time of doing this commentary, I already revealed it in the last Silent Hill 2 video, but I have officially, well, 103% specifically, but I've gotten the true ending for Crash 3 for the first time for this Let's Play, so that's gonna be fun. The way I'm doing stuff for this Let's Play is I'm not gonna, I did all the, relics off screen, and any, gems that I felt didn't really need to be shown, but there is a good chunk of me going back to get gems and me showing off the unlockable levels, the two hidden levels, as well as the three bonus levels in the last warp room, and the two secret paths that allow you to get box gems and an extra gem from two previous levels. All that stuff will be shown off later into the Let's Play, but I do leave out the relics. I want to get that out of the way now, mainly because some of the relics took me hours. I know, the last relic I had to get was for Ski Crazed. That was the last mandatory relic, because if you don't know, you don't have to get the relics for the two hidden levels. I did get the relic for one of the hidden levels, but that's beyond the point. You don't have to get those. So my last relic was Ski Craze, and it took me 2 hours to get it. So that's why I kind of just decided not to show the relics, because it would have padded out this Let's Play way too much. Because here's the thing, you don't want to watch a Let's Play where 9 parts of it is me actually getting the gems and beating the story and stuff, and then another 12 parts is the relics, because that's what it would have been like. It would have been basically half relics, and I didn't want to do that. So I just decided to leave all the relic stuff out ahead of time, actually, because I already knew it was going to take me a while with some relics. But yeah, Ski Crazed was my final relic. I think my first relic was literally the first level. So, yeah. So what are my thoughts on Crash 3 compared to Crash 2? Well, one, I don't like the relics. I think I've said that before. I kind of rambled on a bit in the last Silent Hill 2 video about, not really caring about the relics, especially in Crash 3 and 4. I love I'm fine with the relics. I can't really say I love them, but I'm fine with the relics in CTR, Nitro Kart, and Wrath of Cortex, because they're easy enough to get. But they're super, they're super annoying in not Wrath of Cortex. They're super annoying in Crash 3 and 4. Especially 4. At least in 3, I'm willing to go get the relics for a Let's Play. I'm not doing that shit in Crash 4. Fuck no. And in Crash 1 and 2 in the Insane Trilogy, the relics are entirely optional, which is why I've only ever gotten one relic from either of those games. Don't hit the switch crate, don't hit the okay, good. There's been so many times in the past where I hit the switch crate not remembering that I need to do that. And then I have to drop. So I was like, past me, do not make that mistake again. We have been playing this game for years, you know better. Because I've beaten Crash 3 quite a few times, I just never got the true ending. I was always a couple relics short, or a couple, it was always the relics that kept me from getting the true ending, because I would get, almost all the gems, and then I'd be, a few relics short, and I'd just be like, nah, I don't feel like getting the rest of these relics, that's bullshit. And honestly, I do think it's a little bit, it is kind of bullshit you're required to get 28 relics, because you're able to get all the mandatory gems with 25 relics. So in my honest opinion, the completion requirement should have stopped at 25 relics, but whatever. It should have been 25 relics, 44 gems, not 44 gems and 28 relics. I think that's a little dumb, but you know, It's whatever. If you don't know, the relics for the 2 hidden levels, Agapis Rex and I think it's called Hot Cocoa or something like that. Those relics are not mandatory. Neither is the relic for the Future Tense DLC level. The gems for the Future Tense DLC level, as well as the gem in Hot Cocoa, are also not required. I think it's the gem in Hot Cocoa? No, it's not that. Okay, no. I don't think you have to get 44 gems. I just got the gems in Hot Cocoa and Agapis Rex, so that's why, like, I have 44. I think the requirement's 42, but I had gotten those gems before getting the last mandatory gems. So, like, my number had to be at 44 because of that. But you need 42 gems. I was wrong about that. There's only 42 mandatory gems out of the 47. Because 2 of the gems are from the DLC level. 1 you get from getting all gold relics. So really, like, the 45th gem is basically bragging rights. You got all the gold relics, so you can now go grab this gem. It's basically bragging rights. There's no reason for going to get it. And then, like, obviously I'm not doing Future Tense. I don't like Future Tense. I love Stormy Ascent. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, I actually do love Stormy Ascent, so if I ever do a Crash 1 Let's Play, which I'm most likely eventually gonna do, I'm definitely going to do Stormy Ascent. I'm not going after the gem or anything, fuck no, but I'm gonna show it off, you know? I also love the Stormy Ascent music. It's probably one of my favorites in the Insane Trilogy. Something about the Insane Trilogy is a lot of the Crash 1 music doesn't sound as good as the original, but there are a few, like, absolute bangers. Like, I feel like Crash 2 and 3 translated really well into the style they went with in the remake, but Crash 1 is, like, very hit or miss. You get some, like, you get really good tracks, like the remastered versions of Insanity Beach and Stormy Ascent and stuff like that. You get, like, those kind of tracks, but then, like, on the flip side, you get, like, some really not so good ones. If I remember correctly, I think the Native Fortress music is one of the ones that sounds worse in the Insane Trilogy. There's another one I'm thinking of. I just don't remember the name of the level. The Embryo boss theme goes hard in the Insane Trilogy, I will say that much. Like, Crash 1 is very hit or miss. Crash 2, I think, translates perfectly. All the songs in the remake sound just as good as the original, well, they're pretty much on par with the original. Crash 3 is really where, like, I kind of prefer the Insane Trilogy take on a lot of songs. With Crash 2, it's, like, kind of on par. Like, I could listen to the original version of Eel Deal or the remake of it. Love it. Same with Cold Heart Crash. All those. Like, both the original and the Insane Trilogy versions of the soundtrack go hard for Crash 2. Kind of equally so. But with Crash 1, the original soundtrack was a little better because the Insane Trilogy version is hit or miss because the original Crash 1 was very, like, I want to say it was very atmosphere-based with its soundtrack. Like, everything sounded, like, more natural rather than, like, the catchy stuff you'd get from Crash 2, 3, Wrath to Cortex, Twinsanity, and Crash... Well, I almost said Crash 4, but there's a couple, there's only a couple catchy songs in Crash 4. Crash 4's soundtrack's kind of forgettable. I love Crash 4, but its soundtrack is definitely, like, one of its weakest points. Because, like, I love the music for Stay Frosty, I love the main theme, I like the boss music for Engine and Cortex, but aside from that, most of it's forgettable. Like, I only remember those tracks for Crash 4. If I were to rank, like, Crash Bandicoot soundtracks, I think Crash 2 and Twinsanity have the best soundtracks in the series. Both the original and the remake of Crash 2. Like, I think that's definitely, like, a tie for #1 spot for me because both of them are fantastic. Number 3 spot, since it's a tie, I'm counting it as both 1 and 2. Number 3 spot probably goes to, try to think here. Number 3 spot probably goes to CTR and CTR. Well, no. Number 3 spot goes to Nitro Kart. Plus the Nitro Kart tracks in CTR Nitro Fueled. They're kind of a similar case to like Crash 2. Like, I feel like the Nitro Fueled with the CTR and C and K tracks is kind of like the same quality or the same like comparison to like Crash 2 original versus Insane Trilogy, where like they're kind of on par with each other. There's just different strengths to them. I feel like that's the case for them. But if I were to yeah, number 3 spot would be Nitro Kart / the Nitro Kart tracks of CTR Nitro Fueled. Number 4 spot probably goes to Crash 3. Quite honestly. Why Crash 3? Because the original soundtrack was fantastic, and the Insane Trilogy soundtrack is even better. So, like, coming after C and K, Crash 2, and Twinsanity, it's probably the next best thing in the series. After Crash 3, it's probably Crash 1 original. This is gonna be the one. Well, no, it's not Crash 1 original. It's CTR and CTR Nitro Fueled versions of CTR tracks. Then it's Crash 1 original, and this is gonna be like the one case where I don't pair it with the remake because the remade tracks are kind of hit or miss. So with Crash 1, it's very much gonna do Crash 1 original soundtrack, then Wrath of Cortex. Then it'd be Tag Team Racing, actually. That one's got a pretty good soundtrack. Then it'd be Crash 1 remaster in the Insane Trilogy. And then it'd be Titans and Mind Over Mutant. I feel like those two are interchangeable because they got some bangers in them, but they also got some very forgettable music as well. Oh, hi Dingo now.
Uka and Cortex gave me orders to bring the crystals to them during the Ice Ages. So give me the goods and shove off, or I'll roast yous.
I think I've mentioned before, and if I haven't, I'm bringing it up now, that the voice direction in the Insane Trilogy is very hit or miss, depending on, like, first of all, the game. It feels like the voice direction in Crash 2 in the Insane Trilogy is perfect. Like, there's nothing wrong start to finish, aside from, like, an awkward, from Cortex in the intro cutscene, instead of, like, I feel like that was the one line that kind of got messed up in the remake, because of the original it was like, dope, which kind of, like, fit better. The remake version of that line is just too goofy. And yeah, basically all the line delivery in the Insane Trilogy is more goofy than the original trilogy, because it's like taking notes from like Nitro Kart and Twinsanity, which were both leaned more into the goofiness of Crash, which Crash has always had goofiness, don't get it twisted. Some people like to pretend that like the original trilogy was all super serious, but it definitely was not. I feel like the only thing more serious in the original trilogy was Dr. Cortex, because Uka Uka's always been treated seriously aside from the Titans games, so he never really like lost that. And then like none of the other villains were really ever treated seriously in the original trilogy, not even Entropy. In fact, Crash 4 might be the first game that gave any, like, seriousness to Entropy, because he was always, like, not that serious, aside from, like, maybe sounding menacing in his lines. I kind of do miss Michael Ansara Entropy, because I'm sorry, but no Entropy voice since has really recaptured that same vibe. Is it Michael Enzai? No, Michael Enzai. My bad. I got it confused with the Mr. Freeze voice actor from the animated series. I missed the Michael Enzai intro beat from the original Crash 3, and I kind of wish like they got somebody who could do a closer impression. I feel like the Crash 4 voice gets... It's not a closer impression, but I feel like the Crash 4 voice kind of like gets the same vibe down as Michael Enzai's Entropy. It's just Corey Burton in both the Insane Trilogy and Nitro Fueled. Sounds really off as the character. He's like, it's a little over-exaggerated. I've kind of gotten used to his Insane Trilogy lines though, and in fact, I think the only part where like his Insane Trilogy lines really bug me now is his second Time Twister message, because the anger is like so over exaggerated, it just feels off for the character. He's like, you vermin are way too stupid to understand what you're getting yourselves into. The original one like nailed that perfectly, because he sounded angry, but it was like serious anger. In the Insane Trilogy, it's goofy as fuck, and I feel like they just dialed it up a little too much in Crash 3 in particular. Because in Crash 1 and 2, the goofiness is like it's at a tolerable level. And like there's really like no issue with the goofiness in Crash 1 and 2 for the Insane Trilogy. It's Crash 3 that it really like becomes a little bit of an issue in some places, because honestly, the Insane Trilogy was the first time that Uka Uka never sounded like... Even in the Titans games, Uka Uka sounded serious. In the Insane Trilogy, he really doesn't to me. I think it's the filter. I want to say it's the like heavy filter they put on him, which he definitely did not need. I've heard like voices John DiMaggio has done before. I think he could have... He probably couldn't have done like a perfect Clancy impression, but he probably could have pulled something off similar to Alex Fernandez or something. And Alex Fernandez is like the second best Uka Uka voice, so like why they put a filter over him? Was it to make him sound extra menacing? Because it doesn't really make him sound menacing in my opinion. It just kind of sounds goofy. Again, Crash 3 is like really where the Insane Trilogy voice direction like falls flat in my opinion. I mean, I think Dingodile and Tiny are really well done here. And I think, aside from Cortex, for the most part, is really done here. Well done here. The weird thing about Lex Lang's Cortex in the Insane Trilogy is, I feel like in Crash 2 he nails it the most, because in Crash 2, it sounds like he's doing a Clancy impression, and it really works well, in my opinion. In Crash 3, it sounds like they wanted him to deliver the lines like Clancy did, but do his, like, usual Cortex voice. And it kind of doesn't work, in my opinion. And most of the time, there's a few times it does work. I think the crash, 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 why must you always muck in my mud Time Twister message, like that whole Time Twister message works. I think like the ending, the two ending cutscenes you get work for Cortex. Both like the first ending and then the 100% ending, I think his lines in both work. I don't remember if he has lines in the... Oh, he does. It's Corey Burton, though. Because Corey Burton voices Baby Cortex. But yeah, I feel like for the most part, Lex Lang's Cortex does work in Crash 3. There's just a few times where it sounds like it sounds like he's trying to mix his own take on Cortex with the line delivery of Clancy Brown, which just doesn't sound that good. With Crash 2 in the Insane Trilogy, it just sounds like he's doing his best Clancy impression. and it sounds really good. Like, I think the other, like, highlight of Crash 2 and the Insane Trilogy is Embryo and Engine. They both do an amazing job. I have issues with Crash 3 Engine because he sounds like he's trying too hard to be menacing. It sounds like they told him, hey, we need you to try to sound menacing without being menacing, because it sounds goofy because of how try-hard it sounds. Like, literally, he says, like, what's this one-line delivery in the Insane Trilogy version of Warp has always bugged me. It's like, when this is over, we will see who is obsolete. Like, guy is trying too hard to sound creepy there, and it doesn't work. It just sounds goofy instead, and it's like, why? Why couldn't, I feel like with the Insane Trilogy, at least this is noticeable with me, I feel like in Crash 3, they basically said, half-ass it. Because there's some lines that are done fantastically, and then there are some lines that are, when this is over, like that. It's mainly engine and entropy I have issues with in Crash 3, because like I could tolerate the few weaker Cortex lines, and like I said, Tiny and Dingodile are kind of done like perfectly for the most part. I do think Dingodile's voice here sounds a little too deep at times, and I feel like that gets better with CTR Nitro Fueled and Crash 4. I feel like Fred Tatasciore does a better job with Dingodile in those games than he does here. But it's the line delivery is actually perfect. Literally. It's just the voice is slightly too deep. That's literally it. And to be honest, I can tolerate it. It's not like something I think makes it bad. It's just a deeper Dingodile voice than he sounds in everything else. And that's it. And I can tolerate that. Because here's the thing. Lex Lang in Crash 2 just sounds like a higher pitched Clancy Brown. That's why I said it sounds like he's doing his best Clancy Brown impression, which really works. I feel like when Lex Lang sounds like he's imitating Clancy Brown, his lines in the Insane Trilogy are perfect. And I feel like his line delivery in all the intros, except for that weird "go" in Crash 2, is really well done too. In fact, in the Crash 3 intro, he sounds like he does in the Crash 2 Cortex lines. Like, he still sounds like he's doing his best Clancy impression, and then he gets a Time Twister message, and it sounds like a weird mixture of his own usual Cortex voice and a Clancy impression, which just sounds so weird. And it's really just the sound. I think the line delivery for Cortex across the Insane Trilogy, aside from that "dope," actually works. Because, I think it does work, despite, like, me thinking he sounds a bit weird at certain points in Crash Warp. That's why I don't really count him as, like, part of the bad line delivery. Really, it's just Entropy and Engine that suffer from that. Funny enough, they share the same voice actor in this game, so it kind of makes sense. I feel like it's just the voice actor messing it up a little bit. And then they just went, yeah, that's good enough. Which, to be fair to Corey Burton, he had only ever voiced the characters once before in Wrath the Cortex, and his Wrath the Cortex versions were awful. I feel like his Wrath the Cortex engine could have worked if they just put a filter over it, but his entropy was always awful. Like, I don't think his entropy ever sounded good, even in CTR Nitro Fueled, where, like, he had enough practice to really sound like the character. He didn't really sound like the character at all. Like, I feel like... In fact, I think CTR Nitro Fuel might be his worst entropy take. But that might just be me. Now we get to face off against Dingodile after being mainly rambling on about voice acting for 25 minutes. What are my thoughts on how the bosses are changed in Crash 3? Because with the Insane Trilogy, you get...
Right.
Oh.
Now you've gone and done it. Them crystals are mine.
So what I was saying, with the Insane Trilogy, you get like 3 types of situations with the bosses. They're either 1-for-1 like their original. I think a good example of this is Embryo from Crash 1 or Tiny from this game. They're either 1-for-1 like the original. They feel a little easier, which I think there's only one boss that suffers from that, which is the engine boss in Crash 3. I feel like that boss feels like a little easier than the original. Or you get buff, like Dingodile here. Dingodile in Crash 3, Tiny in Crash 2, and Papu Papu in Crash 1 all got buffs in this game. The Papu Papu buff is probably the most pathetic because he just gets an extra hit point for his boss meter. Dingodile gets better aim. Like, you might notice at certain points I like bait him into shooting his flamethrower and then I dodge it. Whereas in the original, you could just keep running and he'd miss you. The buff with Tiny in Crash 2 is Tiny's a lot better at following Crash. So like you kind of have to bait Tiny. It's a little harder to bait Tiny in the original. Every other boss is pretty much 1-for-1 like their original, difficulty-wise. But yep, we beat Dingodile. So that's that. We're going to be ending off the video here, so bye.